Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Jami Devasesha Sundari Pastuja Sadhana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Radha Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So I'd like to thank Radhanath Swami for kind words, which are not exactly true about me being very essential for Srila Prabhupada to build this temple. One day, one of the main architects for this temple told Srila Prabhupada he was going to leave the community and start his own thing. So I was very concerned. I was visiting Vrindavan at the time from Sankirtan, and I was very concerned that things weren't going to go very well. So Bhaktipada was in his car outside the planning office, and I came up to him and said, Bhaktipada, what are we going to do? So-and-so is leaving. Bhaktipada spoke to me and said, we are not dependent on any one person to build this temple. This temple was built by Krishna. Those who want to take part and get the glory, they are welcome. Just like Krishna told Arjuna, all these soldiers are already killed. This battle is already won. If you take part in it, you get the credit. Of course, the devotee isn't interested in getting credit for his service, but Krishna wants to give the credit to his devotee. So, that person left. Things are going on greater than ever. Of course, really this whole temple is completely the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. This idea, the planning, and the push to make it happen. Anything great doesn't happen just by being mellow, or laying back, or waiting for Krishna to do it. It happens by great determination of a great soul. So the conditions now under which this temple is proposed to be built are incredibly austere. no ordinary devotee could even think of doing what Srila Prabhupada is going to do. Because I haven't been to New Vrindavan very much in the last 10 years, but as Mahaprabhu knows, we were sent to New York several years back to try to develop some preaching centers there. I thought that was going to be my life's work. One day, about a year ago, I got a call from Srila Prabhupada right after we had spent thousands of dollars, installed the deities of Radha, built a temple for them, developed a preaching center in Manhattan. While we were building it, Mahaprabhu was wondering about the future of the center. And I told him that Bhaktipada has trained us to do everything as if we're going to be doing that thing for the rest of our life, but be prepared at any moment that you'll be asked to do something completely different. That is how he's trained us in every service ever since he's been in New Vrindavan. So New York was no different. We put a lot of energy and time into it. And I was really attached to the idea of developing preaching there in New York for Srila Prabhupada. But right after we installed the deities, that was like the beginning, really, what I thought it was, like the beginning. Install the deities of Radha Muradhara. These were deities that were in Bhaktipada's personal house. And he had been so kind as to allow us to bring those deities to New York. So practically 1 week after the deities were installed and we were making plans for preaching for 1991, I got a call from Srila Prabhupada. And he said, "How's it going, Nityo?" I said, "Great, Prabhupada. I'm all excited about the new year preaching in New York." He said, "Okay, but listen, I want you to come to New Vrindavan and head up construction." I said, "Oh, Prabhupada, what about all the preaching in New York that chalked out so many plans?" I said, "I'm really kind of attached to being here in New York, Prabhupada." So then he told me that, "I know preaching in New York is very important. It's the #1 city in the world, and I want it to go on." He said, "But if you can help me build this temple, it will do 1,000, no," he said, not 1,000, 1,000,000 times the preaching you would ever accomplish in New York." So that was about all he needed really to say to convince me to help him directly in building the temple. Now, I helped a little bit on the palace, but actually I really don't know anything about construction. Just basically doing what I was told. So I really didn't feel qualified to come back and head up construction. I still don't. But somehow or another, Bhaktipada's teaching us a life of faith, that if we surrender to Krishna, Krishna can work through us. Otherwise, what's the use of just doing what you're good at? How is that letting Krishna work through you? If Krishna gives you something that is impossible, and you surrender, and Krishna uses you as an instrument, that is glorious. And that's what Bhaktipada is interested in, making those kind of devotees. So, came back in January and began to look at the scope of the project and feel more and more totally helpless, and realized that there's no way I can do much of anything to help this temple. So then, as you know, a few months after that, Srila Prabhupada was brought to trial. I took a week off to spend time at the trial with Prabhupada. And despite how I feel now, I was pretty devastated watching the events of the trial. Mahaprabhu was there, and seeing Bhaktipada railroaded. Most of you must know that not only was Bhaktipada convicted and put into jail, but at that time, the whole community, all the land on which New Vrindavan stands, was also apparently convicted in that trial. That all the land that the community had acquired over the years was subject to forfeiture to the federal government because of the supposed crimes of Srila Prabhupada. So watching all that, I went back to New Vrindavan. Not a very transcendental state, kind of a devastated state. And we had some meetings with some of the devotees involved in instruction. They were also in a similarly devastated state of consciousness, wondering what to do. So we began to make plans according to our limited vision of the situation. How? Well, we figured the government is threatening to take the land, and there's so many other projects at Vrindavan besides the Cathedral of the Holy Name that need to be done just to keep things running smoothly. The kitchen needs to be repaired, bathroom needs to be fixed, barn roof has a leak in it, concrete needs to be poured down there for the cows. But we made a list of all these wonderful projects to do that would keep things going while the legal situation was being more understood, and not be such a unbelievable task, because trying to build this temple, the threat of the land on the temple is being built taken away. So of course, you businessmen would know that would be a very good strategy to kind of wait to see if the land you're going to build a temple on is still going to be there in a few months. So we happily went to Srila Prabhupada and gave him our analysis of the situation. And when Bhaktipada heard our proposal, he practically broke down in tears. And said that the only way that we can get out of the situation we're in now is to thank Krishna and praise Krishna more than ever. He says, I don't know any other way better to please Krishna than to thank Krishna than to try to build this temple for His glory, the glory of His holy name. So he told us that, I don't care what you analyzed, and figured out, build a temple. Don't worry about the so-called demon's attack. And he quoted Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadana, Richard Masucha. Don't worry. Krishna says, surrender to me and don't worry, don't fear, don't hesitate. Just do it. So, back to the drawing board, as they say in English. Well, we went back to Vrindavan, had some more meetings, and realized, I don't know, probably all of you have seen these plans. This is Bhaktipad's dream here. You can hold it up. This is Bhaktipad's dream, to glorify Krishna, Krishna's holy name. Lift it higher. This way, this way. Bhaktipad is seeing the condition, we were discussing a little bit yesterday in the temple. Bhaktipad seeing the condition of the American mentality, degradation, knows that it's going to take something bigger than a Harinam party to get their attention. And he's not interested in just making one or two people Krishna conscious and all. He's thinking of making the whole country become God conscious. So this temple, he says, will have a major impact on the American people. And if the Americans become more and more God conscious, the rest of the world will follow naturally. This was Prabhupada's idea. Bhaktipad's following Prabhupada's footsteps. So this is the plan so far. Let me show a little bit here. This is the gateway. I don't have a drawing of the gateway. It's really fantastic. A close-up drawing. This is the gateway of the holy name. Last summer, Sri Dayananda Prabhu and some of the devotees from India came and were fortunate enough to help with concrete work on the foundation of the gateway to the holy name. This gateway will be 108 foot tall, and each block of stone will be carved in a different name of God from the various religions of the world. It will be a real monument to the holy name. And so the foundation is complete, and the steel structure which will support the stone, the concrete and stone, is also complete. What is this? Oh, okay. So this winter we've been working on the stone shop, which will house a stone cutting machine at the cost of $80,000, and a stone polisher and some sandblasting equipment which will be able to cut all the stone, polish the stone, and sandblast the names of God in the stone. So we've been working on that up until, they're still working on it, the foundation for the stone saw. And this is the stone saw, a picture of the stone saw that we bought and recently been delivered at Vrindavan last week before I left. And this saw will be set up down at the old farm, Vrindavan. And the stone will be brought from Bhaktipad's Bhajan Kutir, Silent Mountain, where it used to be a stone quarry. We brought up there from Vaitra, brought to the Vrindavan, where stones will be cut and then shipped up toward the temple site. So this summer, if any of you come, we'll be having a marathon pouring concrete up 108 foot around the steel that's currently standing there. And that cement work will be holding, it'll be, from that, the stone will be fastened to that. So this winter we'll be working on getting the stone shop set up, been running and up until the spring, I'm sure it will take. And this summer we'll be pouring concrete around the Mahadwaram. So Bhaktipad's idea is we build the Mahadwaram first. And when people see the Mahadwaram, they'll understand that the temple is just now coming, as they say in India. And we'll be able to raise funds for the rest of the construction of the temple. And see what Krishna has in store. All we can do is try to serve the order of the spiritual master. We are not great in any respects. All we can do is try to preach according to the vision of the Acharya. Each Acharya has a special vision given to him by Krishna of how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to bring the world to love of God. Bhaktipada has a special gift, special vision, how to do this. And as his disciples, we should be willing to do anything and everything required or asked of us to help him accomplish his great vision. So we can speak for hours on end about the activities of New Vrindavan, but as many devotees want to speak, so I just gave a little brief report of the temple progress. Maybe a couple questions, or if there's any couple questions we can take. Who wants? If not, Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really very difficult to understand one point. That we gave attest to the project when I was preparing agreement with you in New York and paying $26,000 and this and that. And when I asked you, Bhaktipada asked you to come to Vrindavan, you just said yes. He asked me like, so it's easy to say, but it's really very difficult. How you do it?
Bhaktipada is training us in pure devotional service. Pure devotional service does not mean being attached to some project. It doesn't mean being attached to our service. It's not our service. It's not our service. Service has been given to us, but we should never think it is our service. It is Krishna's service. We are being asked to render service to Krishna. So, by pulling the rug out from under us so many times, Prabhupada has done this, at least to me, all the Brijavasis are always experiences, that we learn to become attached to the person that we're rendering the service for. Bhaktipada. We're rendering service for Bhaktipada's pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure, not for our own pleasure. So if we become attached to the activities of devotional service more than the person to whom we're trying to please, then we have missed the point. And Bhaktipada, out of his causeless mercy, will not let us miss the point. Or at least, he's trying his darndest to make sure that we don't miss the point. He's preaching day after day. He's managing. Some people complain about the so-called lack of management at New Vrindavan, or you sometimes even hear devotees can't understand the way Bhaktipada manages things. They're doing